5 minutes after 9 o'clock here on this Thursday morning. Cloudy skies in Clinton. It's 52 degrees here on this Thursday.
Local information that makes a difference. Here's your regional weather.
Today, cloudy with a gradual clearing. Lows around 70 degrees. A west wind at 10 to 15 miles an hour today. Showers, even a storm possible later tonight with increasing clouds. Temperatures in the mid-50s. A 40% chance of a shower and storm in the afternoon, early on Friday, I should say. Cloudy otherwise, and a high of 77. Friday night, partly cloudy, lows around 62. Winds will pick up in the overnight Friday, 15 to 25 mile per hour winds from the south. Then sunny and breezy on Saturday. Temperatures around 80 degrees, a south wind at 15 to 20 miles an hour, wind gusts of 40 miles per hour. Sunday, showers, breezy, highs of 70. Monday and Tuesday, partly sunny, temperatures in the lower to mid-70s. Across central Illinois, as we continue through this Thursday morning, right now, cloudy skies across the area in Bloomington. Temperatures at 51 degrees, 51 in Hayworth, 52 in Leroy, 54 in Farmer City, 55 in Champaign, 56 in Monticello, 55 in Decatur, 53 in Mount Pulaski, 52 in Lincoln, 57 in Springfield, 51 in Peoria. 52, cloudy in Clinton. Northwest winds are calm, 97% humidity, 10 miles of visibility on this Thursday. Weather anytime is at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Everyone knows wind farms bring tax revenue and jobs, but what else can they do for our community? Apex Clean Energy is investing all across Illinois in homegrown wind and solar farms that help secure American energy independence. Without relying on volatile fuel prices, renewable energy keeps our air and water clean for people, crops, and wildlife. Apex Clean Energy is powering stronger communities across Illinois. Learn more at apexcleanenergy.com.
Attention Republicans, stand by for important election information. Oh, Democrats can listen too, I guess. But they probably won't, because if you're still a Democrat, you're clearly not paying attention. Anyway, in the Republican primary for Congress, President Trump has endorsed conservative Mary Miller. Repeat, Mary Miller is the official Trump choice for Congress. We like repeating it to annoy any Democrats who are still listening. Well, the point is, Mary Miller backs term limits. She's strong on election integrity. And Mary Miller will stand up to AOC and the green energy socialists that are just killing us at the gas pump. Conservative Mary Miller for Congress. The Trump Republican choice. And in case Joe Biden hears this, we now repeat our message in a way he can understand. Trump endorsed Mary Miller. Paid for by Club for Growth Action, clubforgrowthaction.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Club for Growth Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest in studio is Curt Nettles, Superintendent of Clinton Schools, as we follow up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Good morning, Mr. Nettles.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
You're decked out in the Easter purple, feeling very seasonal here this morning, it feels like.
I think this purple shirt was purchased for one of my kids' weddings. So.
Oh, nice. Good work.
Yeah.
Looking snappy today.
Well, thank you.
There you go. All right. Well, let's dive into following
Since I'm
up
on TV.
Yeah. the millions of viewers out there that are tuning in today. Yeah. But no, with all that said, let's dive into the Tuesday night Board of Education meeting. And this is something that I've actually talked more with your peers about the last few weeks. This was worked on for a long time. People probably heard about this maybe in January or February. COVID days off, COVID leave for teachers. And a lot of the talk in Springfield was for those that were vaccinated. Tell us a little bit about what this is about and then what Clinton schools are going to do.
Okay, I'll start with my frustration on it because we started the school year masked up and protocoled, and it took them all the way to the spring to decide, yeah, we're going to give everybody COVID days. I mean, we could have been keeping track and taking care of it as we went along.
And now you have to go through all that record keeping,
we gotta
right?
go back.
Yeah.
We got to go back. So, but to only award it to vaccinated people, to me, is a clear political maneuver by the governor to entice people to get vaccinated. When people who don't want to get vaccinated have made it abundantly clear they don't want to, and it's their right not to, and it shouldn't change their work environment or working conditions, in my opinion. So I made up my mind when I first heard it. I thought I'm going to recommend to the board that we give it back to everyone on our staff that's employed in the district. And so that's exactly what we're going to do.
Can I ask, it feels like all the victories through the court system and the JCAR ruling and all of those things, like, I don't know if this legislation was meant to encompass everyone. It sounds like you and your peers feel very empowered to give this to everyone, regardless of what the legislation says.
Yep.
Is that a fair way of looking at that, you think?
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm just going to talk for me. I won't talk for Sheila or Vic or anyone else, but for me, and again, I make recommendations to the board. The board makes the final decision, but I've been vocal about it. I'm ready. I'm over some things. I don't necessarily fear as much any consequences of things, maybe like we did a number of months ago or a year ago. So it's, to me, it would be an easy court case for somebody to win if they wanted to. So, but I don't do it out of fear of somebody suing us. It's just the right thing to do.
You're ready to run your district how you see fit.
Yeah, and we have people in our district work hard, and they got sick and they had to stay home, or their kids got sick and they had to stay home. Okay, but if the government says, well, we're not going to count that against them as long as they're vaccinated, that just doesn't make any sense. So, which is funny because we had vaccinated people at home sick.
Yeah. And just to the greater conversation, this is just another example of you taking ownership of your district, doing what you think is best for the people in your district.
Yeah. And part of it's just me being older and
fearless.
Not as well. I don't know if I'm fearless, but yeah,
I think you're fearless.
A little salty now, but
wait, salt and peppery or salty?
Salty.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it. I've been bucking the system for local control, and we have the opportunity to do it, so we'll do it.
If you don't mind if I ask, I know we couldn't speak Tuesday because you were at the latest Board of Education meeting in Springfield, the State Board of Education meeting. What was the vibe like there? What was that atmosphere like after? Was that the first time they'd met after all of this?
They went to virtual meetings like in January and December, I think. I'd have to go back and verify that. We were at the last one in November, so I think they met virtually, but we had a lot of other stuff going on. But the vibe yesterday in Springfield was we went with the message of, would you please push back against legislation and edicts that are not good for schools? It's not every bit of it about local control, but you're supposed to be our regulatory agency. You're supposed to be helping us. Would you please work with us and not without us?
Yeah.
And that was the message. And
yeah, but aren't these people just puppets for the governor?
Well, that's the message I eventually got to with them was, okay, because at one point the chair stopped during public participation after he'd heard a few people speak and said, you know what? We are at the committee level at the General Assembly. We are using our government relations people. We are pushing back. We are giving advice on this. We're doing all these things we're asking them to do. And I said, no one knows that. Why don't you display that? Why don't you share that information? Why don't you explain what you're doing? Roger Eddy, one of the board members who used to be a school district superintendent and a state rep, among other things, he said, yeah, we get in there sometimes and we do things. And then at the last second, things change. Well, we know that happens in Springfield, but I said to him, I would rather have known you fought and lost than not to know anything. I said, I would be thrilled if you guys say, well, we fought against this, but we lost anyway. Okay. At least you did that. So they did suggest that they need to communicate better the things that they're trying to do on our behalf.
All right. So it sounds positive then.
I think it ended positively. I felt pretty good about going after that because, you know, usually in public participation, you give your 3-minute spiel. Everybody gives a 3-minute thing. But then all of a sudden,
the whole time,
the chair was making some comments and he kind of opened the door and I raised my hand and he let me talk. So we had about a 5-minute conversation.
Do you know all those people on that board?
Not real well. A couple,
but they like know you probably well enough.
They do now.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say now they know you well enough. Gotcha. Curt Nettles, superintendent of Clinton Schools, our guest in studio for this morning, following up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. Mr. Nettles, talk to me about the resolution authorizing approval and execution of Clinton Station real property tax assessment settlement agreement and intergovernmental agreements.
You should love the way I have to word things on agendas.
My gosh, that was like painful to read.
Well,
I feel bad for people listening at home. That's like one of the worst deliveries I've ever had. But like, I don't even know how to read that.
One of my favorite lawyers of all time wrote that. So,
wait, you have a favorite lawyer of all time?
I like this guy, Scott Ginsburg.
Do you have, wait? Do you have a favorite Cub of all time?
Cub?
Yeah, like Cubs.
Favorite former Cub of all time, Lou Brock.
Okay, well that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
No, I don't.
Carry on. I'm sorry.
So we have settled on an agreement with Exelon or they have a new name,
Constellation.
We got to start calling them Constellation. We made an agreement with them on their assessment of the property there in the power plant, and that has gone up a little bit. And so we have a new tax agreement with them that is supposed to go through 2027. And it's a very good deal, we think. So a little bit of a raise for the taxing districts. So all of the taxing districts are having this approved at their meetings over the next.
You went over this at our last meeting, at the last meeting. But just give us that quick 10,000-foot overview of what the agreement entails. That's so good.
So this puts in place a maximum tax bill that Exelon has to pay. I'm going to keep calling them Exelon. Sorry.
We know what you mean.
Yeah. So they have a maximum tax bill that they have to pay. There's also a minimum one, but that minimum and that maximum is really a better situation than the deal we had previously, which was a good deal. So this is very helpful to the school district, the county board, the library, all these taxing districts. So there's not going to be any loss for revenue there. It will only go up a little bit. So it's a great situation. And then we make an agreement between us as the taxing bodies, what percentage each group gets of the overall tax bill.
Yeah, sure. So very good. That's been settled, at least at the school district level, and the other entities will make those decisions, I'm sure, forthcoming.
Yeah, they should all approve it.
Real quick, as we wrap up our first segment, Mr. Nettles, tell me about the high school softball trip for spring break next year.
Next year, yeah, they're going to go to Tennessee. They're gonna get out of here when it's snowing or freezing rain or whatever's going on in March, and go on a little bit of a trip to Tennessee. They're going to play some softball games. So they're going to get in some real games. They're guaranteed 4 games within that week. And
you know what's going to happen.
Enjoy some good weather.
They're going to leave, and it's going to be great up here. Every day is going to be perfect for softball up here.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be perfect for them there, and we will enjoy, I don't know.
Will it be more than a softball trip? Will there be other components to it?
I think they'll do a few other things, and I don't remember all of it off the top of my head, but they gave us.
But they will be doing more than that.
Sheet.
Okay,
yeah,
that's really what I was getting at.
You got to have a little bit of fun, but we have a lot of confidence in our coaching staff and chaperones to do a great job with that for the girls.
The GAP Student Exchange Program. I remember Mr. Scanavino presented on this. Can I reach out to him and Mr. Wayne to have them talk about
absolutely.
All right, we'll do that maybe next month.
Yeah.
But real quick, tell us about that and approval of that.
So this is an exchange program for a few weeks out of the year where we'll have students from Germany come over for I think about a month or so. And then we can send kids over there in the summertime for a couple of weeks, and we can see how each other's school systems work and experience culture and climate there and those kinds of things. And this program's been around for a long time. My wife was actually participated in it when she was in high school.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
just
cool.
raved about it. When she heard that we were going to talk about it, she said, oh, they got to do this. So,
yeah, there you go. Well, you've got the first lady of the district on board, I suppose. So very good. Let's see, Mr. Nettles, let's take a time out with that and come back and talk more following up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting with Superintendent Curt Nettles on the WHOW Morning Show.
If you're driving a tractor in a no passing zone, you should not pull over to let cars pass you unless you can safely and completely move your tractor onto the shoulder of the road. Don't just wave cars to pass you, as this can create confusion, especially if they can't see the road ahead. This week and every week in 2022, think and practice safety first.
This message brought to you by AHW in Clinton. Tomorrow's solutions today.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
For the latest in Central Illinois agricultural news, visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com. Get updated information on markets, weather, ag news, local interviews with NAFB farm broadcaster Jared White, and much, much more. All at IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
I represent low-cost airlines, and we know a lot of you are not traveling right now, and we understand. However, if you do need to travel between now and the end of the year, now is a great time to lock in some of the lowest prices we've seen in a lifetime. Hey, in normal times, we can save you up to 75%, but now airlines are practically giving away seats. We have inside deals on over 500 airlines. Here are a few sample round-trip deals we found. Seattle to Vegas, $35. Chicago to Atlanta, $85. Los Angeles to Atlanta, $100. Of course, there are some limitations, but the airlines want your business right now. And cancellation and change fees are flexible. So fly somewhere this year, book now, save a ton, call right now.
858-988-7667. 858-988-7667. 858-988-7667. That's 858-988-7667.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest in studio is Clinton School Superintendent Curt Nettles, and the WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Mr. Nettles, let's talk teacher shortage. I notice in your consent agenda, you've got some resignations and things of that nature, but a lot of hires for next year. Talk about the teacher situation in Clinton schools. What are you seeing on the front lines?
So there is a teacher shortage. Actually, we were a little bit happier than the last couple of years that, we have math that we need to hire a few people for. And I think we hit a good spot with ISU. We had a student teacher. We had a few really good math applicants. So we lucked out there, I guess, but right time, right place. But there really is. And I know you've heard this and people in town have heard it. I stopped in Coffee Corner last week one day, and it was on Friday last week when we were off for Good Friday. And there was a group of people sitting there enjoying their coffee and whatnot. And one of them said something to me. I was listening to your show and you were talking, I think, to Sheila Greenwood, and you were talking about teacher shortage, and he wanted to know a little bit more about that. So it is a fact that you could get dozens of applicants for positions. If you had a third grade opening, elementary teacher candidates were tripping over each other at one time. And it wasn't uncommon. You could get 150 applicants. You're lucky to get 10. And out of those 10, 3 or 4 of them might be pretty decent. And then when you interview, it becomes obvious who the right person is. So it's serious. We don't have as many people to choose from. So getting the right person from the applicant pool that you have becomes that much more important than it was even before. So we have really enjoyed the last few years where we have graduates from Clinton who have education in their family, educators in their family that want to come back and teach for us.
Including yourself, I see.
Yeah. And so those folks, they have roots here. They want to live here. They want to stay here, and they're really quality people too, and quality families. So we've been excited to be able to do that over the last couple of years, really.
Yeah.
And I enjoy seeing those young people starting to teach. So I think the more we can do that, I know there's grow your own programs and those kinds of things. We haven't officially started something like that, but we have kind of grown our own. I mean, in my family, I've got 2 out of my 3 sons are school teachers. And, a lot of families who both the husband and wife were teachers, or one was a teacher. You're going to have some of your kids be teachers. So,
yeah.
So we'll look for those. We would love to have, our alums come back.
And this is a conversation I want to have with you and your peers another time. Just there's been a lot of pressing things that have, taken over priority of this, but I do want to get to this about a lot of the, sexual, coursework that's going to be coming forward and a lot of those things. And you were telling me one way to really kind of not necessarily shield yourself from that, but to make sure your classrooms are a I think it's a sacred place, the classroom, to make sure that the innocence of young kids stays that way is to hire people. Do you mind elaborating on that?
Oh, I think that's a very valid point. Hiring people and trust, or we don't always hire people we've known for a long time or watch them grow up or anything like that. But if we have our curriculum in place, if we have our standards in place, and we can tell people we hire, these are the standards we're using, which we're using Illinois state standards. But when Illinois says, here are the new standards for sex education, K-12, and if you adopt this board policy, then you'll use the national standards for sex education. It's so invasive and graphic, and it has no business being in a school district. It's a social agenda, in my opinion. And I said that at the board meeting. So my recommendation to the board next month on board policy updates that we're doing is we're not going to adopt that. And I'm as sure as I'm sitting here that they won't adopt that, and I don't want them to. So those things you as a parent need to talk about in your home with your kids when they're ready, if you even want to talk about it with them. I think there's things probably in the coursework or the standards that some of those things parents would never talk to their kids about, because why would you?
Like the new coursework you're talking about?
Yeah. And they tried to make it for K-12. I don't really know what you would talk about with kids that young. That's appropriate.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I want to save that conversation for another time because it warrants more than the 2.5 minutes we have here. But just in terms of the teacher shortage, what's driven this in your mind? You're a seasoned individual in education, so what have you seen over the years that has driven this?
So teachers don't always get a fair rap. It's hard work. It's always been hard work. And I don't think young people want to put as much into it as it's going to require to do it well. The pay has not always been the best. We're trying to rectify that. Here in Clinton, we're trying to rectify that. And I think others are too, as much as they can. We want good benefits for these people so they'll be attracted to come to our district and stay.
I've told your peers, my theory is along the lines of, teachers haven't gotten a fair shake. And I think there's been, like a lot of aspects of society, there's been a loss of respect for teachers, and even Dr. Stanifer mentioned this to me the other day. When a teacher would make a call home, the assumption would be to the parents that teacher was telling you the truth, that appropriate action would be taken. It was just a matter of informing the parent to get them behind it, but you're not getting parents behind that. And they're taking the sides of their kids who may be in the wrong and all those things.
That happens. I will say there's still a smaller percentage of that happening.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're not Loudoun County, Virginia here in Clinton, Illinois. And this is a great place to teach.
Very good. Always good to talk to Mr. Nettles. I hate to cut us off early, but maybe we'll dive more into that next time. Clinton School Superintendent Curt Nettles in studio with us. Network news on the way.
With SRN News.